What's up, squids? We're back with another video. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how to ride a motorcycle in less than 10 minutes. Maybe you just picked up a bike. Maybe you're looking at picking up a bike. You don't know if you'll be able to ride it. You don't know how complicated it is. So today we're going to go over how to ride a motorcycle, just the basics, and how to get the bike moving, how to get the bike to do what you want to do. Before I start, don't look at this. The bike got hurt. If you guys saw my short earlier, the bike took a little tumble on a palm tree. Park it in a pretty tight spot, and I lost my balance. The bike hit a little rock, and there you go. That's what happens when the bike leans over on a palm tree. So anyways, to get started, first thing when you're riding a motorcycle is obviously gear up. So the basics is a helmet. You might be in a state where it's not even required to wear a helmet. I would still highly recommend that you put a helmet on, even if it's not required. Next up is going to be if you're going to wear armored pants, jacket, boots, whatever it is that you decide to wear, the more the better. Obviously it gets hot sometimes. Obviously you don't always want to wear the gear, so that's up to you. Basics is just a helmet. Always wear a helmet. Alright, so before we even start with trying to move the bike, let's figure out all the controls and what everything does. So if we look at the right side of the bike, first thing we're going to see is the brake lever. This is going to control the front brake on the front wheel. So obviously you want to stop the bike, you're going to use the front brake lever. This is going to be most of your braking pressure. You're stopping on the freeway, you're stopping while riding, you want to slow down, you're going to press the front brake lever. Next up, we have the rear brake. This is going to be this thing right here. This is going to be the back part of your foot, and anytime you brake, you're going to press the ball of your foot on here, which is going to slow down the rear tire. This is more used for slow speed turns, and I normally brake with both brakes, but very light on the rear brake. The rear brake is mostly used for slow speed turns. You want to make sure that you still use it just very lightly because the rear wheel will lock up very easily. So now that we're done with the brakes, we're going to go over here and we're going to look at what we have on this side. Here we have the throttle. So the throttle, pretty self-explanatory. You grab it, you twist it back, and this controls how much gas you're giving it. Next up, we're going to have kill switch. So right now it's in the off position, and if we wanted to start the bike, we'd go ahead and flip it over here. Now underneath that, we're going to have the start button. So after the key is turned and in the on position, we would go ahead and flip this over here, and then hold this button until the bike starts up. Now coming over to this side of the bike. So I already mentioned the key. The key is pretty self-explanatory. You're going to put it in the on position. It lights up the electronics and the dash. And if we wanted to start the bike, like I said earlier, you'd go ahead, press this, hold this, bike starts up. Kill the bike. You're going to go ahead and do that. And to make sure the battery doesn't die, you're going to put this in the off position. Now, coming over to this side, we're going to have the clutch. The clutch is what connects the transmission and the wheels to the engine. When you're pressing the clutch, what you are doing is you are separating the engine from the transmission. You have the engine spinning, right? It's spinning very fast depending on the RPMs, and you have the transmission and the wheels. If you're not moving, the wheels and the transmission, for example, if the bike is stationary, the wheels and the transmission are not moving. But if the bike is on, the engine will be spinning. What the clutch does is the clutch connects something that is spinning to something that is not spinning. And what you're doing is you're pressing them together lightly so that the engine starts to move the wheels. Once they're moving at the same speed, you then fully release the clutch so that now when you hit the gas, it automatically moves the wheels. We'll get into that later. That's probably one of the hardest things for people to comprehend with a manual transmission, and all motorcycles have manual transmissions. So we'll get back to the clutch. That's what the clutch does. Separates the engine from the wheels and transmission. We're going to come over here. We have the high beams, pretty self-explanatory. These are regular high beams. And then we're going to have turn signals down here, right, left. And right underneath that, also pretty self-explanatory, we have the horn. This bike's pretty basic. It's a track bike. Basically, it's a Yamaha R6. If you get a fancier bike, you're going to have a few more controls. You might have cruise control, but this bike is the basics. So if you're getting a bike, you're going to have basically this minimum. Now, when we come down over here on the rest of the left side, we have the other peg for your foot, and here we have the shifter. It looks similar to the brake on the other side, But with this one, it doesn't just go down, it's gonna go up and down. As I'm riding, this is gonna be the ball of my foot. It's gonna sit right here. When I'm ready to shift, it's gonna slide here. It's gonna slide forward so that my toe can either get over it or under it, depending on what I'm trying to do. So the way a manual transmission works on a motorcycle is you're gonna push down to shift down, and you're gonna shift up to shift up. The pattern on a motorcycle transmission is gonna be first gear, neutral, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth on some bikes. So now that we got all the controls out of the way, let's go ahead and mount the bike and let's get it started. You're gonna flip it to the on position. You're gonna flip the kill switch. This green light here indicates that we're in neutral. So how can we check that we're in neutral? Because the bike cannot start if it's not in neutral or my hand is not holding in the clutch. We are going to hold in the clutch. We're gonna go ahead and press down to first. And now the light's off. I'm in first gear. So for me to start the bike right now in first gear, I need to have my hand on the clutch. So if, for example, I'll show you guys for the video, if I let go of the clutch, what happens? The bike dies. I'm in first gear. One thing to note about the shifter down here on the left, this right here, is that you're only going to touch the shifter if you're in on the clutch. So now that the bike is warmed up, pop it down in the first gear. Neutral's gonna go away, so now I know I'm in first gear. I'm gonna keep both my legs on the floor. Both my legs on the floor, and I'm just gonna waddle the bike. And I'm gonna get a feel for the clutch. So right now, what we're gonna be feeling is the engine side spinning, and we're going to be connecting it to the transmission and wheel side, which is not spinning. So we're going to release the clutch slowly, and depending on the bike, there's going to be a bite point. That's going to be when they start to touch, and you're just going to let it sit there so that the engine can slowly start turning the wheels. You're going to rest your other hand here on the throttle, but don't give it any gas. You're just going to hold on, okay? And just release it, and there you go. The bike's moving. And we're just going to hold it there. And I'm going to keep my legs on here, okay? We're just going to hold it. Now, when I'm ready to slow down, I'm going to hold this back, the clutch, and I'm going to get on the brake. All right, so I'll show you guys again. And we're going to release the clutch, release the clutch, release the clutch. Bike is starting to move. We're going to hold it there. We're going to hold it there. My legs are still waddling, and we're going to turn. And the more speed I pick up, I can release it all the way. Slowly, releasing it all the way. And now the clutch is out. Clutch is fully out and I'm not on the gas. So right now the two pieces are connected, the engine and the transmission, and the bike is moving on its own. If I want to slow down right now and I go under what the bike is doing, under the speed the bike is doing right now, the bike will die. So what I need to do to stop the bike is I need to pull in the clutch, disconnect the engine from the transmission, and press the brake and put my legs down. So when you're getting used to riding a bike, you just want to do that multiple times and get a feel for the bite point. That's going to be the hardest thing in the beginning for most people. So you're going to come over here, clutch, release it slowly. The bike starts to move. You're going to hold it, let it get a little bit of speed, release it a little bit more. So now that they're connected, now I can give the bike a little bit of gas. Not too much, just a little bit of gas. Feel how sensitive it is. Next up is going to be shifting into the rest of the gears. Remember what I said earlier, where to shift gears, you have to pull in the clutch. What we're going to do is, we're going to do everything we did so far, but now, once we're up to speed, we're going to clutch in. We're going to go up on the shifter, to shift up into second gear, and then we're going to slowly release the clutch as we're in second gear. Once we're in second gear, then we can get back on the gas and we can ride it out. Here's what that looks like. Clutch is going to come out. I'm going to hold it. We're going to pick up a little bit of speed, pull it out slowly, and we're off. Very smooth, right? We're in first gear. I'm going to speed up a little bit. All right? And I'm going to get off the gas, clutch in, shift up, let the clutch out, and now I'm in second gear, and now I can give it gas. Now I'm only shifting gears right now so slow for the example. Normally you wouldn't shift into second gear going this slow, but just so you guys can get a feel for it. So I'm in second gear. Let's say I want to stop. It'd be the same exact thing. If you want to stop abruptly, remember the brake always works. All you have to do is hold the brake, press in the clutch, and you can stop the bike. So, clutch in, brake, and we're stopped. The bike is still in second gear, so we'll pop it into neutral. All right, so now that we know how to shift up, we're gonna do the same thing, but shift down. Off the gas, clutch in, shift up, let the clutch out, and back on the gas. And now we're in second gear. Now, to downshift, it's gonna be basically all the same thing. Instead of going up on the shifter, you're gonna go down on the shifter. So we're in second gear, off the gas, clutch in, press the shifter down, clutch out, and now we're in first gear. One thing to remember is that when you're downshifting, you're gonna wanna make sure that you're very light on the way out with the clutch after you've downshifted into a lower gear. So once you get a little more advanced, to speed up the process, you can rev match, which is giving it a little bit of gas so that the engine speed matches the wheel speed. But for now, since you're just learning, you're just gonna wanna release the clutch. You let it sit at the bite point for a little bit, and that'll slowly bring it up to the right speed. It'll bring up the engine to the right speed and bring the wheel speed down so that they match. And that is the complete basics on how to ride a motorcycle. Hopefully it helps you guys out, and hopefully you guys can get started with that basic tutorial. Anyways, if you guys have any other questions about how to ride a motorcycle or anything motorcycle related about the channel, go ahead and drop a comment below. And stay tuned for our hoodies coming out pretty soon now. I'll catch you guys in the next one. See ya.